Welcome to Behind the Headlines. This week we're talking about Magical Bridge, the all-inclusive playground that has gained attention around the world. And joining us are co-founders Olenka Villarreal and Jill Asher. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
I guess let's just jump in. Tell us, what is Magical Bridge?
So the Magical Bridge playground is a new kind of playground that's designed to reflect the needs of an entire community. And that means it does include the design thinking for those people in our community that are 1 in 4 of us today that live with a visible or invisible disability. Typical playgrounds don't always consider their needs, and we do. We consider the needs of all ages, all abilities, and all sizes. And we feel that when you remove the physical barriers, the social barriers come down as well. And with that, we create what we say is real magic when everybody feels welcome.
So how is it different from a typical playground? Like if I walk onto a Magical Bridge playground, what am I going to see?
I'll let Jill answer that question. We'll share back and forth.
So it's really been thoughtfully and mindfully designed and intentionally designed for everyone at every stage of life. And it's a very open environment that is divided into zones, because we know, especially for people with disabilities, that predictability matters. And so we've divided the playground into 7 different zones, which include a swinging zone, a spinning zone, a tot zone, an incredible slide mound, a tree house with a stage, kindness corner that reminds everyone to be kind and compassionate when they enter our magical space. And we even have, because we're here in the heart of Silicon Valley, an innovation zone that plays just beautiful, gentle-sounding music through a laser harp. And so it's really a place that just encourages everyone at every stage of life to play and to just feel the joy of play, community connections, and to feel really part of the whole community.
And how is it different than ADA compliant playgrounds? Because I know you had talked about just because something is accessible doesn't mean it's necessarily usable.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that question, because sort of where ADA starts is our starting point, if you will. So the Americans with Disabilities Act that was passed in 1990, we really congratulate that effort. We think it's a wonderful effort. It was really intended to create access for those in wheelchairs to have abilities to go into the public spaces. However, really only about 10% of those that have disabilities are wheelchair users. And so what that means is 90% of people that have a disability, including those people that have autism, right now the statistics are around 1 in 45, all of those individuals are not encompassed in the design requirements as it relates to a playground and the ADA law. And so access is really not inclusion. And so our goal very early on was to go way beyond ADA accessibility and truly create a place that welcomes everybody, really. And that's what makes it unique. And that's what we get excited about.
And you said that you've discovered that not only have you broken down physical barriers, but also social barriers. So explain that a little bit.
Right. I think that when you go to what you call a typical playground, right, because it's leaving out the 1 in 4 of us that are living with disabilities along with our family members, you don't typically see a lot of people with disabilities, with either visible or invisible disabilities, participating and playing at those playgrounds. And at Magical Bridge, if you do have a family member or if you are disabled, you know that this place is safe, it is fun, and it is welcoming for you. And therefore, when you go to Magical Bridge, you may see somebody in a wheelchair, you may see someone who looks different, who appears different, and it opens the possibility for friendships to happen and to form. It gives everyone in the community a chance to play together. And it gives, we see a lot of classes with disabled children and adults coming out to play at Magical Bridge all the time. It's not uncommon to see the reflection of everybody at your community, in the community, at Magical Bridge. And we know that friendships happen and form, and we know that people who typically feel socially isolated or marginalized finally have a place to be part of the community. And it really is magic when you see this happen, and we know that the world needs more of this today more than ever. Kindness and compassion is needed more today.
You also have a lot of programming as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really struck me was like the STEAM events that you've got, right? And that, for instance, you could kind of learn about what it's like to be in a wheelchair. So those types of things I think are really of value. And one of the people that I interviewed was one of your kindness ambassadors who talked about having someone who was blind, another kindness ambassador, show her what it was like to use a cane and walk around, be blind, and what kind of a change that made for her in terms of her perception of people with disability and just perception of the world. So I thought maybe you could speak a little bit about some of those programs that you're doing, either one of you.
Well, so I'm happy that you had a chance to speak with some of our ambassadors, and I do think one of the things sort of to merge between your question and what Jill was just saying quickly, at the core of the creation of the Magical Bridge Playgrounds, now that we have more coming, is really that essence that everybody comes to the same place. I mean, initially when we started the design thinking on this, it was very early on that there are many wheelchair parks, there are many special needs parks all across the country. And then there are those community great foundations that bring disabled kids into a typical park or into a special place where you volunteer. So at the core of everything we do, it is really important that everybody feels like they're coming to the place that's right for them. And so that's where the magic happens. And so that's why we knew that as these people were coming to this one place, the Magical Bridge, we love that we've been recognized as a cool playground, and it's, we're very careful about people categorizing us, and we are a new category, so that's why the programming that we've now created, the music, it's very thoughtfully created to be inclusive in the spirit of what it is, and inclusive for the audience that comes to enjoy it. And Jay Gluckman, who runs a lot of our education programs, is a STEM educator. He has 3 young kids. He's a stay-at-home dad right now, and he has done an amazing job with varying experiential programming on the playground. So any given day you can show up, and you don't expect it maybe, but there it is. And it's a way to sort of, without strong-arming a kid to say, hey, you're going to learn something here in this classroom. It's there on the playground, very organic, and it happens in the best way, where the kids come because they're drawn to it. The kindness ambassadors are usually on hand, cool teens that are being nice, and it's kind of nice to hang out with them too. So the programming is really becoming at the core of what we do. We now are doing it every other week. We have the music as well. Again, trying to create different experiences, whether they're auditorially, visual,
Did you
or otherwise.
always have that as part of the component of the playground, or did that come later?
So it was always in the original
okay.
vision. Of course, that's why we created the stage, and it was really intentionally designed to be not so big that it's overwhelming, but at the same time a size that is comfortable for someone, you and I, or any of us, to hop on and do something improv, or just a place where it's welcoming for many activities. And every community that we're working with now has different thoughts about what they envision for their community, but always at the core, seamlessly inclusive, is important.
And I think it's really important to highlight that our Kindness Ambassador program is bringing in teens, teen volunteers from Palo Alto High School, from Gunn High School, from all of the local surrounding high schools as well. We have over 50 teen kindness ambassadors. We also have a diversity, equity, inclusion advocacy program, which we just started, where we're pairing a few teens from the Palo Alto Unified School District that have pretty significant disabilities with other teens that are volunteering with us and doing advocacy work here in Palo Alto to make our community of Palo Alto more inclusive, even off the playground for everyone. So a lot of our thinking is that these teens are going to go out in the world and do miraculous things, and we want it to be, we want Magical Bridge to be their launch pad to look at the world a little differently. And we're already seeing that with a lot of our teens that have graduated and gone on to college.
So you also mentioned playgrounds. So there are now multiples. And can you talk a little bit about that? And how did you get into, I mean, it was such a huge project just to get the Palo Alto one off the ground. So what motivated you to move forward into other playgrounds, and what are those playgrounds?
Well, it wasn't so much that we were motivated to do more. Honestly, we were quite, I think, fatigued after the long years of building the Magical Bridge and the awareness. But, it was one of these remarkable moments that Jill, I mean, many, as we've said, many of the volunteers that helped us over the years, and there were really many, many people. And, right there at the opening day when Jill and I were standing there and realizing, oh my gosh, all these, once the media sort of caught on and the online community was made aware of Magical Bridge, we really were overwhelmed by the interest in other communities. And so that's when we ended up going to two of our original Palo Alto donors who very generously said, you need to create a foundation and see how you can extend this work, because, Jill is such an expert in online messaging and really no one's better than Jill. And so she started this messaging, shouldn't all communities be welcoming of all members of its community with playgrounds? And so that's where all communities started to reach out like, well, we want to be welcoming, and we're ready over here and we're ready over there. And then we said, So anyway, we did start the foundation with the generosity of the donors. Wilson Sonsini was so gracious to take us on pro bono in their attorney-client list, and that's transformative. We don't think any nonprofit can do work without a partner that can help them on the legal front, because that can be cost prohibitive. And so from there, we decided to try it, and Redwood City being the first that jumped on board. And then with the help of the Santa Clara County Supervisors, at the helm was Joe Samidian, our wonderful friend, who saw the value in the Palo Alto playground and said, we shouldn't have families driving 2 and 3 hours just to come and play. Let's see how we can make this available for the Santa Clara County. And so with his leadership, with the county supervisors, they approved an inclusive county matching grant that gave in total $20 million of matching grant funds that enabled us to partner with the cities and create Magical Bridge playgrounds now that are coming up into each of the 5 districts in our county. But important to mention that it's a true 3-way partnership, right? So the city had to pledge a certain amount, the county put a certain amount in, and then our foundation at that time, truly, Jill and I, were raising millions of dollars for each city, really, to bring these Magical Bridges to reality.
Do you tailor each Magical Bridge to the community where it's going, or is it sort of like, here's the blueprint, go do it?
Yeah, I mean, each playground we call them sister playgrounds. They all have the 7 different zones, but it's really tailored to the need of that community and that park and rec department. Like, for example, Redwood Cities is going to be almost double the size of Palo Alto's, and that's going to open later this spring. What was a $4.2 million project in Palo Alto is an $8 million project in Redwood City, a much larger tot zone than we do have in Palo Alto. So there were things that they wanted. They wanted more swings, water features as well. And the same thing is happening as we go into design phase of all of our projects. When you walk into Magical Bridge, you will see Magical Bridge. It is a brand. It is a Magical Bridge playground. You will see that it's similar, but colors may be different. And we're also learning from each playground. Did we get it 100% right in Palo Alto? No, we're a work in progress, right? And we're going to do better with Redwood City, and we'll take those learnings from Redwood City and bring them to Sunnyvale.
And you're doing a second one in Palo Alto, correct?
Well, the one you're talking about, the Rinconada playground. So Rinconada did not align with Magical Bridge. It was designed by Peter Jensen, who at the time was with the city of Palo Alto, and now we just
Okay.
recently brought him into the foundation. But he has taken the spirit of a magical bridge and sort of made it in the flavor of a magical bridge, sort of layout, if you will, and some features of it. But it will, there'll be some familiarity, but mostly it'll be more than it will be a hybrid, I guess, is what you would say is it's a hybrid proposal that he
Now,
created.
you said people were driving 2 to 3 hours. I mean, where do people come from? How many people are visiting the Palo Alto Magical Bridge?
Well, we can answer that because we've done a lot of research and we have some white papers. But we are astounded to say that we're seeing 25,000 visitors a month in that place that's less than an acre size. Who is coming? I mean, clearly we have locals, people from communities, but on any given day, just randomly when Jill and I are there, we will find people traveling from around the world. I mean, we get guests we just had a whole group out of Japan that really came, they said, to see the magical bridge and to learn from our design. So we are we continue to be very humbled by the interest. I mean, here we are 5 years later. I mean, it really is sort of the interest hasn't let up, which is remarcable, but we do get visitors from
We had
everywhere.
teens that were out on the playground last summer, or 2 summers ago, collecting data, and around 30% of our visitors are from Palo Alto. The rest are from all over the Bay Area. They are traveling far and wide and sometimes many hours to come to Magical Bridge because we are the one and only safe and fun place that their family can actually play in. And what also astounded us is that average visitors spend somewhere between 1 to 2 hours at the playground per visit. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. And we're so glad to welcome them and have them come back often.
I don't think we talked about how you actually got the idea to design and build a playground. Did you want to
So,
tell us a bit about
sure.
that?
So that really, it was very organic, right? I mean, in the end, it was inspired by my own family, essentially, is my second daughter, Ava, who has significant disabilities. She just turned 17 last week, and I was certainly not in the playground industry or business or playground design world, but ultimately I was looking for a place to bring both of my kids, and that really came from the fact that Ava would have benefited from movement. I mean, we still have no diagnosis, but she can't hold on to the swings even to this day. And so I did go to, at the time it was Greg Betts that was in the city, and asked him, well, where can I take both of my kids to swing? Because I was driving her down to Cupertino and paying a lot of money in an indoor facility that could only take us once a week. And I mean, once a week doesn't really help anybody. So I was looking for a park near my home. And so that's where the journey really started, is that Greg said to me, well, it doesn't look like we have the kind of place you envision. Why don't I'll give you this little space here in the back of Mitchell Park. Why don't you see if you can raise some money and you can create the kind of space that you would envision we'd benefit from. And really, I really thought that, with online and with the international community, I'd go and find a place that would inspire me and would just say to the city, hey, I'd love for you to create one like this in Sweden or in Israel or somewhere. But to this day, we haven't found a place that we feel is exactly right for the whole community. And so, to Jill's earlier point that, we're creating each playground uniquely, but with the spirit of the learnings from the core playground. The industry, the playground industry is actually quite stagnant. I mean, because of the ADA requirements, there hasn't been an impetus to do more. And so not only are we building these playgrounds, but we're spending a lot of time researching, doing innovative designs, and working with students and groups and people that have sort of been pulled into our vision that come to us. Like right now, we're, as you wrote about, this magic map. I mean, that was a project that came from just our need for something in the playground that helps people with wayfinding. There is nothing like it. And so we have a blind, graduate from the design school up in Canada that's designing it for us. So what we're doing is we're doing a lot. We're trying to bring community together, the programming, the physical spaces are the core of what we do, but we just do a lot more now, we feel, and it just fills our hearts with joy on this day, like Valentine's Day, perfect day to say that.
Are you having some sort of Valentine's event?
Well, actually, we had a Valentine's event last week. We had a couple things going on, but today we don't have anything Friday. Typically, we do alternate Saturdays, but
But you did do something, yeah. That's
we
something.
did do something. Yes, we had some a corporate group out of Facebook that came and sponsored. We had cocoa and Valentine's activities and making wands, and the kids made wheelchairs out of cardboard. So Jay's very creative with what he does on the playground, but we really welcome on any given day. I mean, there will be magic there for sure today. I'll be there at 1:00. Anybody wants to come by and see me, I'm meeting with someone, and I'll be there with Ava. But there's always magic that happens on a daily basis. So while we celebrate today's Valentine's Day, we feel like, let kindness and love prevail, and we get to experience it daily. So that's what makes us so happy.
So one thing that doesn't come up as magic is fundraising, right? I mean, that's something that's hard work that you have to do. So could you talk a little bit about, you've got how many playgrounds in the works right now, and are there needs that you have particularly?
Take that one on.
So we actually have 10 projects underway. We are very fortunate to say that most of our projects are fully funded, and that does take Herculean efforts. It's a combination of technology companies, philanthropists, individual donors, kids raising nickels, dimes, pennies, and quarters, and for coin drives at their schools. Our biggest need at the moment is Magical Bridge Santa Clara, and we're hoping to have that funded probably by the summertime, but we're still looking to raise around $950,000 towards the $4.5 million project. So we are very much on our way, but if anyone watching is interested in making a contribution, that's our biggest project in need, and reach out to us also. Questions about zone sponsorships.
And where can they, if they want to learn more about Magical Bridge and the foundation and the playgrounds, and donate, where can they do that? How
Go
can
to
they do that?
magicalbridge.org. There are links to each of our playground projects. So if you click on any of the projects, you'll see where we are. We are actually under construction and hoping to open Redwood City later this spring. We go under construction in Sunnyvale and Morgan Hill later this spring and open early next year. We hope to go under construction for Mountain View later this year, and then Santa Clara as well. So, and then we have schoolyard playgrounds, and we have museums that are coming up, and international projects, which we'll be announcing as well. So there's a lot of just great excitement, but go to magicalbridge.org, and you'll see a lot of great stuff.
Which we're proud to say is fully accessible to
Our
website.
website is
how
fully
could we not have an accessible website with the work we do? So we like to try to spread our messaging in any way we can, and we appreciate groups like yours that take an interest in our mission and our story and the work that we do.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything else we didn't talk about?
Well, how much time do we have? We could be here all day talking. We certainly have no shortage of stories to tell, but I think for anybody interested, I mean, the good news is our website is so beautifully and thoroughly updated. We have stories from families, from our teens. We have a very rich blog section where we have wonderful kids that have come our way and said, could I write something up for you? And we feature it. So there's really so much wonderful information. And in this world today, we're really quite fractured in many ways. The work we do is uniting. It doesn't matter what your income, what your background, what your abilities, you're welcome. Our programs welcome you. We welcome our teens to the Kindness Ambassador program. And we always talk about it in our foundation that we live in this little magical bubble of the work we do, and wouldn't it be nice if it could continue to extend to each of the communities that we enter? And we're seeing that. So we invite everybody to get to know our work and come meet us on the playground.
Great. Well, that wraps up this edition of Behind the Headlines. Thanks for joining us. If you want to stay up to date on Palo Alto news, go to paloaltoonline.com or follow us on social media.